After 7 years of cold silence, I returned to the country with my 7-year-old son to visit my parents. The moment I got off the plane, I ran into my ex-boyfriend's best friend at the airport. He asked me, 7 years have passed. When are you planning to apologize to Oliver for running away from the wedding? Oliver, his childhood friend, was my ex-boyfriend, the man I almost married. 7 years ago, we held our wedding at a hotel, but when it was time for the bride's entrance, he suddenly announced a pause. He pulled up a girl in a white dress from among the guests. Facing everyone, he declared affectionately, "Amelia is my first love. I once promised her that I would walk her down the red carpet at least once in this lifetime. After today's wedding, I'll settle down, so I'm taking this opportunity to fulfill that promise." After saying that, he looked at the host and signaled to continue. The guests erupted in shock. Everyone was waiting to see the joke made of me, the bride-to-be. I was silent for a moment, lifted the hem of my wedding dress, and walked out. He didn't chase after me. I didn't wait. And now, 7 years have passed. My child is already 7 years old. Yet my ex-boyfriend's best friend is still persuading me to kneel and apologize, to rekindle the past. I laughed, pulling my son from behind me to stand in front of him. I said, "Baby, say hello to Uncle and tell him what your father's name is." Chapter 1. Paul stared at the boy in front of him in disbelief. "Helen, you ran away pregnant and even gave Oliver a son?" Though the method was a bit low, at least Oliver didn't wait for you for 7 years in vain. I knew he had misunderstood, so I corrected him. "This child isn't Oliver's. I got married 7 years ago. He's my son with my current husband." Paul froze, as if he had just heard something ridiculous. "You actually dared to get married behind Oliver's back? Do you know he went crazy looking for you?" I nodded calmly. "I did. 7 years ago, my taxi arrived, and I walked past him, but he grabbed my suitcase tightly and refused to let go." "Helen, explain yourself. What do you mean you got married 7 years ago? How old is the child? Is he Oliver's?" Paul's agitated voice was like thunder, attracting curious stares from passers-by. He seemed not to notice. His eyes widened as he examined my son's face inch by inch. While speaking, he nodded with certainty. "This kid is obviously Oliver's. Big eyes, double eyelids, and dimples. Helen, you've got some nerve. Running away pregnant. No wonder you had a cold war with Oliver for 7 years. You were waiting for the child to grow up so you could use him to get Oliver's family to acknowledge you." "Helen, you're really calculating." I frowned. I honestly couldn't see how my son resembled Oliver at all. His father is from Hong Kong, a Chinese-French mixed heritage. They don't even share the same ethnicity. Before I could explain, Paul continued, "Even though Oliver never stopped looking for you all these years and even neglected Amelia for you, as his best friend I still have to warn you, don't think that having Oliver's child means you can push your luck. 7 years ago you ran away from the wedding over something so trivial and his family lost all face. If Oliver hadn't endured family punishment just to get his parents to forgive you, you would have had no chance long ago. There's still time. Come with me to buy some good cigarettes, alcohol, and gifts. When we go to apologize at his house later, I can help you." "Wait!" I couldn't listen anymore and interrupted him. "Who said I'm going back to his house? Let me remind you again, I'm married. The child is my husband's. His name is Simon." "Helen!" I don't know if it was the word husband that provoked him, but Paul suddenly grabbed my hand so tightly it felt like he wanted to crush my bones. "You're already 30. Can you stop being so childish? Do you still think you're a little girl? Yes, you're pretty and a bit talented, but what kind of family is Simon's? A woman who casually ran away from her wedding and has no manners thinks she can climb into his family? Did you go crazy after staying abroad for 7 years? The Simon family is the most famous shipbuilding dynasty in Hong Kong. In recent years, they've aggressively established industries in the capital. Even Oliver's family wouldn't dare provoke them, and I was just a gold digger publicly humiliated by Oliver." Seeing me stunned, he softened his tone and tried to persuade me earnestly. "I know Oliver did some things wrong 7 years ago, but he's a grown man who waited for you for 7 years. Isn't that enough? Yes, he didn't apologize or chase after you, but even though he likes Amelia, he still hasn't married her, right? Helen, you can't be so ungrateful." Paul sighed and took out a business card from his pocket. This is Oliver's contact. He has now inherited the family business. He's one of the top entrepreneurs in the capital, handsome, young, and wealthy. So many women dream of marrying him. Seize the opportunity. He seemed certain I would snatch the card with excitement and call Oliver immediately to beg for forgiveness and reunite as a family of three. But after taking the card, I only glanced at it and tore it into pieces without hesitation. Too late. Chapter 2. 7 years ago. It was my wedding with Oliver. My mother was so happy that she couldn't sleep from excitement the night before. My father didn't say much, but on the day I got married, he secretly wiped his tears behind my back. My grandparents from both sides were already old, yet they still traveled all the way from the countryside, afraid of missing their beloved granddaughter's wedding. I thought that day would be the happiest day of my life. But when it was time for the bride's entrance, Oliver suddenly announced a pause. Then he pulled a girl in a white dress up from among the guests and confessed his feelings in front of everyone. Amelia is my first love. I promised her that in this lifetime, I would walk her down the red carpet once. After today, I'll become someone else's husband. This is my last chance. Helen, you'll agree, right? I clutched the bouquet, scanning the entire venue in confusion, as if my heart had been ripped out alive. Why? I asked him. Why humiliate me like this at our wedding? Oliver smiled and pointed at my parents and grandparents seated below. It's nothing. I just noticed your relatives seem to enjoy taking advantage of others. Since I'm willing to marry you, adding another bride to the wedding shouldn't be a big deal. The guests erupted in an uproar, pointing and whispering at my family. My grandfather, a rural teacher his entire life, had a heart attack on the spot from anger. My grandmother, thin-skinned, tried to explain with a flushed face, only to have Oliver's relatives throw vegetable leaves at her. I looked at the wedding dress symbolizing love. After a moment of silence, I lifted the hem of my dress and left the hotel with my family without looking back. From the wedding day to the day I decided to go abroad, 7 full days passed. Oliver never came to apologize. Instead, his first love, Amelia, came to see me once with Oliver's mother. At the hotel cafe, they walked arm in arm like mother and daughter. When they saw me, their smiles faded in unison. Amelia spoke calmly. Helen, I'm really sorry about the wedding. I didn't expect Oliver to still remember our promise after so long. I'm sorry for embarrassing you. Oliver's mother lightly patted her hand. What are you apologizing for? That was what Oliver should have done. You two grew up together. No latecomer could ever compare. Then she smiled elegantly at me. Helen, I'm not talking about you. Don't take it to heart. I took a sip of coffee. The bitterness filled my mouth. She took a card out of her bag. There's 3 million here. Take it and leave the capital with your family. I stared at the card and asked blankly. Is this his decision? Who else's? Oliver's mother smiled. You ran away from the wedding. What else do you expect from my son? Do you know who Amelia is? Her father is one of our longtime business partners. As for you, she paused for 2 seconds and sighed softly. You're just a village girl from the countryside who caught a glimpse of heaven. That's enough for your lifetime, don't you think? I said nothing. I took the card and donated it to a rural school in my hometown. Then I left the country for 7 years. Now my son is already 7 years old. Chapter 3. Helen, did you even hear a word I said? Paul's hysterical voice pulled me back to reality. He looked at me with a hopeless case expression, full of indignation. Oliver is now successful in his career and still can't forget you. If you don't seize the chance to apologize now, you'll never get back together. You used to be so calculating. How can you not even figure this out now? Seeing how upset he was only made me feel exhausted. I raised my voice and informed him one last time. I, Helen, am already married. My husband loves me. My child is adorable, and I'm living very well. I don't need anyone's forgiveness. Please stop bothering me. After saying this, I quickly tightened my grip on my son's hand and walked toward the taxi. Paul tried to chase after us but only saw the taxi's exhaust. Without thinking, he took out his phone and opened Oliver's profile. Oliver. I saw Helen. She's back in the country. The man on the other side froze, suddenly stood up, and rushed out so fast he almost hit the glass door. After arriving at the reserved hotel, I settled the luggage and took my son to the restaurant. As soon as I came downstairs, a loud shout echoed through the lobby. Oliver! That's her! Helen is downstairs. I looked up. Paul stood in the lobby with a handsome man. He was tall, wearing a custom-made suit, his hair slightly messy as if he had rushed over. My ex-boyfriend, Oliver. The man I almost married. He stood not far away, staring fixedly at the boy holding my hand, his Adam's apple bobbing. Helen, is he my son? I froze as memories flooded my mind. Like most Cinderella and rich family romances, Oliver and I fell in love by chance. He was a wealthy heir who casually tipped thousands. I was a hardworking student from a small town working part-time at a restaurant near campus. Because of an accident, we met and fell in love for 5 years. I quit my job for him, studied desperately, and after graduation entered his family's company, becoming the most talented designer in the capital. He fought against his family for me, gave up his beloved archaeology major, accepted the family business, and protected me, turning me from a scheming gold digger everyone despised into his legitimate fiancé standing proudly beside him. We poured everything into that relationship, until Amelia returned. She was perfect, beautiful, elegant, his childhood sweetheart and first love. At first, I didn't care. Trust is the most important thing between lovers, and Oliver loved me. We were getting married, but reality was different. He worked later and later. He canceled more and more dates. Once, I went to his office to decide on invitations, and his secretary coldly told me, "The boss is in a meeting. No one is allowed to disturb him." But the next second, Amelia walked past gracefully and pushed open the office door with ease. That day, for the first time, I lost control and hysterically questioned Oliver about his relationship with Amelia. He didn't answer. He just threw down screenshots of first-class tickets and 5-star hotels I had booked for my family. Helen, do you remember when you wouldn't even buy a 2,000 yuan shirt? They said you were after my money. I didn't believe it. Turns out it's true. I froze and explained I could afford it now and only wanted my family to live better. I even showed my salary records. He just said and told me to leave. Our relationship became stiff. I tried everything, stopped using the black card he gave me, saved receipts, even changed my wedding dress to a cheaper satin one 3 days before the wedding. On the day of the fitting, Paul and Amelia were there. I heard her say to Oliver, "You should sign a prenup. At our level, it's easy to run into gold diggers, young and hot-headed." I couldn't bear the humiliation and interrupted them. "If you don't trust me, we shouldn't get married." Oliver panicked and insisted he never meant that. The wedding would continue. I thought he finally trusted me, until the wedding day when he pulled Amelia onto the stage and humiliated my family. Only then did I realize he had never trusted me. And now Oliver stared at me, waiting carefully for one answer. "Helen, tell me, is he my child?" Chapter 4. I took half a step back and hid my son behind me. "No, he's my husband's child." I don't know which word triggered him, but Oliver's eyes instantly turned red. He gritted his teeth, the veins on his forehead bulging. "Helen, if you're going to lie, at least make it believable. We had a Cold War for 7 years, and he's exactly 7 years old. Don't tell me that right after you ran away from our wedding. You had him with some random man." I frowned. What does he mean by some random man? I broke up with him, fell in love normally, got married normally, and had a child normally. How did that become some random man in his mouth? Taking a deep breath, I was about to answer when someone suddenly shoved me from behind. My palm scraped against the floor, and pain shot through it, raw and bloody. "Mom, what are you doing?" Oliver was stunned and immediately tried to help me up, but I avoided him, leaving him frozen in place. Oliver's mother tightly grabbed my son's hand, her voice shrill. "What am I doing? Taking my grandson back?" I've seen plenty of gold diggers like her when I was young, pretending to hold out and refusing to go back with you. She's just playing hard to get. She took my money and abducted my grandson. The fact that I haven't called the police already is me being merciful. She turned and signaled to the bodyguards. "What are you waiting for? Take my precious grandson away." The bodyguards immediately obeyed and dragged my son toward the exit. Fury flooded me. I got up to snatch him back, but Oliver held me tightly. "Give me back my son." How many times do I have to say it? He's not Oliver's child. My son cried his heart out, shouting between sobs, "I don't want to go with you. I want my mom and dad." "Mom, save me!" While forcibly restraining me, Oliver softened his voice to coax him. "Son, don't cry. Mom is being unreasonable and has taught you badly. Dad will take you home." My son struggled even harder. One of his shoes fell off. He stepped barefoot on the floor, fighting desperately. "You're not my dad. My dad's name is Simon. He'll be here soon, and he won't let you get away with this." Oliver's face darkened instantly. He turned to the bodyguards. The child doesn't know better. He even dares to claim someone like Simon as his father. Who knows what trouble he'll cause in the future? Don't hold back. Teach him properly. Oliver's mother nodded in agreement. Exactly. Just look at him. He clearly lacks discipline. He must be taught a lesson. Thank goodness Paul discovered this in time. Otherwise, who knows when my grandson would have returned to his rightful family. Then she directly ordered the bodyguards. Tie his hands, gag his mouth, and take him home. Lock him in the dark room. Let him out only when he learns to behave. I'd like to see who dares. A furious male voice suddenly rang out. I looked up. Several black Bentleys had stopped outside the hotel at some point. The tall man stepping out of the car, surrounded by people, carrying an overwhelming presence. If it wasn't my husband Simon, who else could it be? Chapter 5. As Simon stepped out of the car, the crowd that had been pulling and shoving suddenly fell silent. Whether it was because of his imposing presence or not, no one dared to speak anymore. They only watched quietly, trying to guess why such an important figure had come here. Only my son, seeing someone he could rely on, immediately lit up with excitement. With red, teary eyes, he cried out in grievance, "Dad, they're bullying Mom and me." Simon's gaze darkened, and just as he was about to speak, Oliver stepped in front of my son first, glaring at the man before him as if he wanted to devour him. "So you're the wild man who seduced my wife and child? He's my son. If you know what's good for you, get lost right now, or I won't let you off." Oliver's mother also put on a cold, arrogant expression. "Helen, you really dared to bring your adulterer back? Oliver, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and throw him out." The moment her words fell, a disdainful cold laugh sounded. Simon walked to my side, wrapped an arm around my shoulders intimately, and spoke unhurriedly. "This is the first time I've seen someone so eager to become a stepfather. Honey, is it because you're too beautiful?" I lightly punched him, signaling him not to joke at a time like this. But to Oliver, my action looked like flirting. Oliver instantly became alert. "Who are you? Since when does an outsider get to speak here?" Simon sneered, showing no intention of backing down. His presence only grew stronger. "I am her legal husband, Simon, and the biological father of this child." The words legal husband and biological father pierced Oliver deeply. He stiffened like a furious beast, momentarily ignoring the name Simon. But Paul and Oliver's mother did not ignore it. Paul's face turned pale as he stammered. "You're Simon, the shipping tycoon from Hong Kong?" His legs went weak, and he nearly collapsed. Oliver's mother stared at me in disbelief. "You actually managed to climb up to Simon. Helen, you. Oliver finally came back to his senses. Fear crept into his heart, but he refused to believe what he was seeing. He stared at Simon's expensive clothing, trying to find some flaw, but in the end, he found none. Left with nothing, he roared in humiliation and anger. "What are you pretending to be here? If you know what's good for you, give my son back right now. Otherwise, I will never let you off." Simon let out a cold laugh. "Oh, and how exactly do you plan not to let me off?" Chapter 6. Are you tired of living and asking for a beating? Seeing that Simon gave him no face at all, Oliver's face turned livid with rage. He didn't want to be looked down upon in a place like this, so he swung his fist at Simon. But Simon was taller, worked out year-round, and was far more agile. Aside from the first sneak attack Oliver landed, Simon quickly gained the upper hand. Before long, Oliver took a punch to the face, then another, and another. Soon, Oliver's face was swollen and bruised. Oliver's mother, seeing him being beaten, immediately turned red with fury. She turned to snatch my son, but before she could take 2 steps, Simon's bodyguards pinned her down. "Helen, you bitch, give my grandson back. If anything happens to Oliver, I will never let you go. I held my child in both arms, my gaze cold. I was no longer the girl she could order around at will. Seeing I wouldn't obey, Oliver's mother shot Paul a look. What are you standing there for? Help Oliver. As long as you help, our family will agree to that cooperation with your family. My son sensed danger, his little face scrunching up as he cried loudly. Dad, Dad, there are bad people here, come quickly. I also took a cautious step back. The bodyguards immediately surrounded us, ready to subdue anyone at any moment. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Paul gave a bitter smile and spread his hands. Auntie, it's not that I don't want to help, but that's Simon. My family wants cooperation, not suicide. After saying that, he took a deep breath, seized the chance, and ran out of the hotel. Paul, Paul! Oliver's mother screamed after his retreating figure. Oliver, distracted, stared in disbelief at the man leaving. Simon finally vented enough anger and dragged Oliver before throwing him onto the ground. This is just a small lesson. Stay as far away as possible from my wife and child in the future. Seeing the situation turning bad and Oliver's face already battered, Oliver's mother bit a bodyguard and angrily called the police. You dare hit someone and try to steal my grandson, just wait. I will never let you off so easily. Having lived a life of luxury for years, she had never suffered such humiliation. A smug expression appeared on Oliver's face. As a well-known entrepreneur in the city, he had contributed massive tax revenue to the local economy. If the child truly were his and Simon had assaulted him unilaterally, he was confident he could make us pay. Oliver stared at me. Helen, apologize to me now. Otherwise, once I take back custody, this child will have nothing to do with you ever again. I looked at his confidence and only responded with a cold laugh. After a while, someone arrived at the scene, but it wasn't the police. It was the manager of the hotel. Before he even walked over, he exclaimed in shock, "Oh my God, who did this?" Oliver immediately pointed at Simon. He did. Call your security and throw him out. The moment he finished speaking, he met the manager's furious gaze. Before he could react, he saw the manager treating Simon with utmost respect. Boss, is this the one causing trouble? Oliver and his group didn't know that the mall they were in also belonged to Simon. Their arrogance here now looked especially ridiculous. Simon said calmly, "Trouble is a strong word. This man insists my son is his and wants to take my and Helen's child away." Oliver immediately shouted, "You're lying. This is clearly the biological son of Helen and me." The manager was furious and scolded him. "You're the one talking nonsense. Everyone in our company knows this is the boss and madam's child." Simon had always treated employees kindly. Our wedding, our child's 100-day banquet, he invited the entire company. From our marriage to the birth of our child, our wedding news and even the social media post announcing mother and child safe had all been witnessed by him. So in the manager's eyes, Oliver's claim that Simon stole his son was completely absurd. Simon merely gave a look, and the manager instantly understood. He barked at the security guards nearby. "What are you waiting for? Throw these troublemakers out." The guards rushed forward and dragged the three of them out. Oliver and his mother had never suffered such humiliation. Even as they were dragged away, they still shouted they wouldn't let us off. Only after their voices completely disappeared did the manager wipe his sweat and respectfully say, "I'm sorry this happened. It was my negligence. I will keep a close eye on their movements and never allow them into your family's properties again." Simon and I nodded and didn't pursue the matter further. But I didn't expect that after realizing he couldn't defeat Simon, Oliver would choose to use the power of the public instead. Chapter 7. I thought that after what happened that day, Oliver would finally go quiet and stop bothering me and my child. But I never expected that just 1 week later, a storm would suddenly erupt online. Oliver started a live stream. In the live stream, he cried and wailed as he accused Simon and me, putting on a brilliant performance to win the audience's sympathy. He claimed we had stolen his child. In his version of the story, he and I had truly loved each other and were only forced to separate for 7 years because of a misunderstanding. Simon, he said, had taken advantage of the situation, deliberately seduced me, and used his powerful family background to seize both me and our child. The gossip of wealthy families had always been the public's favorite after-dinner entertainment, with Simon on one side and Oliver on the other. Public opinion was ignited almost instantly and exploded everywhere. The stock price of Simon's family group was also affected, showing a small but noticeable drop. Oliver came to find me with a triumphant smile, his tone filled with the pleasure of revenge. Helen, see? Everyone is still blessing the two of us. Do you regret it? It's not too late to come back to me now. Looking at the smug curve of his lips, I found it especially laughable. Regret? Why would I regret anything? My son is smart and adorable. My husband Simon is steady and reliable and treasures me like a jewel. And my own career is thriving. The only thing I should regret is ever knowing Oliver. If not for his baseless entanglement, my life would have been peaceful and quiet. To end this farce as soon as possible and return to peace. I looked at him and, for the first and last time since we reunited, said with a hint of persuasion, Oliver, stop here. Don't let yourself become a complete joke in the end. I meant it kindly, but he took it as weakness. The smile on Oliver's face deepened, his burning gaze fixed on me, half coaxing and half threatening. Helen, I'm the one who loves you the most. As long as you divorce him now, I'll let bygones be bygones. I'll make you and our son the happiest family. Otherwise, I have plenty of ways to make sure you never see your son again in this lifetime. Unaffected by his threat, my expression instantly turned cold. Before I could respond, another sharp voice cut in. Sister Helen, stop being stubborn. Brother Oliver has nearly risked his life looking for you all these years. How can you be so heartless? The speaker was Amelia, Oliver's childhood sweetheart who had grown up with him. At this moment, tears streamed down her face, her expression pitiful. She kept calling him Brother Oliver, as if I were the cruel and heartless woman who had hurt him. Even if you're with Simon now, can you really throw away all the years you shared with Brother Oliver like garbage? Or are you still angry at me for walking the red carpet at your wedding and refusing to forgive him on purpose? Her words sounded gentle, but every sentence defended Oliver. Oliver stood beside her, his face dark, clearly further stirred by her words. He stared at me and demanded, Helen, I've explained countless times. I had my reasons. Besides, the one who ran away from the wedding was you, not me. Even now, don't you think you were the one in the wrong? Looking at this absurd scene and hearing these twisted accusations, I finally couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Oliver, the one who should bow their head and apologize has never been me. With that, I turned decisively and left those two calculating, accusing faces behind me. Chapter 8. Because of the trouble Oliver caused. The stock price of Simon's family group has experienced some fluctuations these days. But Simon has weathered the business world for many years and has a solid foundation. This wave of public opinion is not enough to shake the fundamentals or cause an uncontrollable situation. However, watching him deal with this matter and spend the entire day on the phone, I can't help but feel a pang of heartache. During this period, not only have the media been staring at Simon like sharks smelling blood, but our son has also encountered suspicious tailings several times. People nowadays will stop at nothing for news. And I have been living in constant fear. Fortunately, although Oliver is a scoundrel, he wouldn't go so far as to put the child he believes to be his biological son in real danger. Still, he repeatedly finds excuses to get close to his son, and has even revealed his intention to secretly take the child home several times. No matter what, Oliver's actions have truly disturbed our peaceful life. Looking at the faint dark circles under Simon's eyes, I finally made up my mind and spoke. Simon, let's take the baby for a paternity test. That way we can completely cut off Oliver's hopes and stop them from continuing to pester us. In truth, a paternity test really is the best way to make Oliver give up those thoughts. But the reason I had delayed suggesting it was because of my own concerns. I was afraid that rashly conducting a paternity test would bring invisible harm and emotional scars to our young son. After all, what child could calmly accept their parents doubting their bloodline? And Simon, what man could accept his child being questioned? Even if the purpose of doing this is to break the doubts, I struggled inside, unsure whether my words would hurt Simon, because he had never once doubted me. Yet he gently took my hand and said, Okay, as long as it can give you and the baby peace of mind, I'm willing to do anything. His crisp and firm voice was like a warm current that instantly washed away the gloom and hesitation in my heart. My eyes grew hot, and I couldn't help but throw myself into his arms. He reached out and gently stroked my hair, softly comforting me. Chapter 9. The paternity report came out very quickly under the arrangements of Simon and Oliver. That day, everyone related to this matter went to the court to wait for the result. When the staff read out the paternity test results, the huge courtroom livestream was instantly flooded with comments. Oliver suddenly stood up from the defendant's seat, his handsome face twisted with extreme shock and disbelief. He stared at the screen, his voice hoarse and desperate. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You must have made a mistake. How could Simon be the baby's biological father? Someone must have tampered with it. Like a madman, eyes bloodshot, he roared at the court. I demand a retest. Immediately. This result is wrong. My heart tightened sharply, looking at my son's confused and slightly uneasy little face at the testing stand. I absolutely could not agree to let him suffer again. I refused without hesitation. No, a paternity test isn't something you can do whenever you want. It's not like buying groceries on the street. My voice wasn't loud, but it was extremely firm. Everyone present fell silent. Simon stood beside me like a solid fortress, giving me an overwhelming sense of security. Hearing this, he curled his lips into a cold, mocking smile and looked at Oliver. Mr. Oliver, no matter how unwilling you are to accept reality, this child is the biological son of Simon and Helen. That is undeniable. No, I won't believe your nonsense. Oliver had clearly lost his sanity. He shoved aside the people in front of him and tried to rush toward the testing stand, targeting the small figure as he shouted wildly, "Retest! I must personally watch a retest." But after only 2 steps, his arm was suddenly grabbed by an irresistible force. Simon held his arm and said, "Mr. Oliver, you're so hysterical, insisting this child is yours. Could it be that you have some hidden medical condition and can't have children in this lifetime?" Oliver was furious to the point of madness. At this moment, Oliver's mother, who had been silent all along, suddenly spoke. She tightly gripped her son's arm, her voice trembling with agitation. "Oliver, stop it! Stop making a scene!" Looking at her son who had gone mad, her heart ached beyond words. But deep down, she probably still believed I would never be worthy of her son, and she refused to let him sink deeper. "Mom, let go of me!" Oliver tried to break free. "Don't you want your grandson anymore?" She took a deep breath as if making a huge decision. She looked around, especially at Simon and me, and finally fixed her gaze on her son before speaking in a deep voice. "Oliver, wake up! 7 years ago, this woman took my 3 million and left you. A woman who changes her affections like this would never give birth to your child." Instantly, deathly silence filled the courtroom. Even the live stream comments seemed to freeze for a split second. Everyone was stunned by this sudden truth. Oliver's body stiffened instantly, turning into a statue. He slowly turned his head and looked at his mother in disbelief, ignoring her insults toward me. "Mom, what did you say? You gave her money and forced her to leave me?" She didn't dare meet her son's hollow gaze. She looked away, her tone urgent and stubborn. "Oliver, I did it for your own good. Back then she was just an ordinary girl with nothing. She would only drag down your future. Amelia comes from a prestigious family and is the perfect match who can help you rise higher. Our family only acknowledges Amelia as our daughter-in-law." "For my own good?" Oliver repeated those words in a murmur. The last trace of color drained from his face. The impact crashed over him like waves. So my sudden breakup 7 years ago. The resentment and unwillingness buried deep in his heart all these years. And the shattered hope after learning he had a child 7 years later. All because of his own mother. He had hated the wrong person. The betrayal he believed in was actually a carefully planned and brutal expulsion. The father-son bond he desperately wanted to reclaim had been cut off from the start by the person closest to him. How could this happen? Oliver couldn't believe it. He placed all the blame on his mother. He felt that if not for her, I would never have left. I would still be by his side, and the child would still be his. Watching the performance of him and his mother, I shook my head with a bitter smile. Back then, I didn't leave him because of his mother's humiliation, but because of Amelia's provocation, his ruthlessness, and his contempt for me and my family. Perhaps he had forgotten those countless things, but I never could. After nearly collapsing in tears, he suddenly raised his head. He stepped in front of his mother and grabbed her shoulders like iron clamps. almost crushing her bones. His voice trembled. "Mom, why was it you? You personally tore Helen and me apart. You used money to buy out the father-son bond between me and my child." Every word was squeezed out through clenched teeth. His mother swayed under his shaking grip, her face pale, eyes flickering, unable to meet his pain-filled gaze. The air froze, filled only with Oliver's heavy breathing and his silent, deafening accusation. His mother kept apologizing to him. The scene was too boring, so I signaled to Simon and prepared to leave. But when Oliver saw me trying to go, he rushed forward without caring about anything and hugged my legs, begging for forgiveness. Oliver was almost unable to speak through tears. For the first time, the man who had always been arrogant lowered his proud head. He knelt, begging me to turn back, begging me to forgive him, begging me to divorce Simon. He was willing to treat my son as his own. In response to his pleas, I simply stepped back slowly. I told him, "Oliver, everything between us ended 7 years ago. No one can wait forever. I already have my new life. Please stop disturbing me and my family." After saying that, I turned and left. Behind me came the sound of a man's suppressed sobs. I didn't stop walking. I tightened my grip on my son's hand. I was going to live my life. Chapter 10. After returning home, I completely put everything that had happened that day behind me. Until 3 months later, when I saw in the financial news that the Oliver family's conglomerate had gone bankrupt and entered liquidation. At the same time, Oliver lost control in front of the media cameras. He tore off his suit jacket, ripped his shirt into a twisted mess, and staggered out while murmuring my name. I didn't really care what he planned to do anymore. But Oliver's mother suddenly came to find me. She knelt in front of me, crying and begging me to persuade Oliver to come to his senses and rebuild the family business. At that moment, I was leaning leisurely against my husband Simon's shoulder, flipping through a travel magazine. Hearing her, I simply shook my head calmly. "I'm very sorry, ma'am. My relationship with your family ended long ago. I have no obligation to persuade your son." After saying that, I stopped looking at her and went to the kitchen to find my son and get him some fruit. The next time I saw Oliver's mother, she was standing on a freezing street corner handing out supermarket promotional flyers, her face worn and exhausted. The daughter-in-law she had once been so proud of and protected, Amelia, stood beside her. Not only did she refuse to help, she looked impatient and harsh. Amelia even shoved Oliver's mother away when she tried to approach her and snapped viciously, "Stay away from me. Bad luck. This is all your family's fault." Later, I learned by chance that Amelia had been pregnant with Oliver's child before marriage. Because of the scandal, her family, eager to distance themselves, threw her out. The once adored rich heiress fell to someone struggling just to make a living. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. Because next week, Simon, our lively and adorable son, and I will be flying to Northern Europe to see the aurora. We are living happily, peaceful and warm, and no one will ever come to disturb us again.